troubled delinquent causing mischief? A young gentleman on a meditative midnight stroll? Or is it a war-torn refugee seeking asylum in our nation's capital? Whatever's going on, there's a story there. Let's go find it. Excuse me, sir. How are you this?
Turns out that there was a frat initiation taking place earlier tonight, and one of the initiates had a little too much to drink. So he was just getting some fresh air by the bushes. Is something about this story funny to you, Jackie?
Sorry, there's just still some story dripping off your pants.
Okay. You know what? For one, my eyes are up here. And for two, guerrilla journalism is nothing to laugh at.
Frat brother spews out warm welcome on student journalists. Should we use that as a headline, or frat brother boldly offloads onto reporter?
Okay, you know what? I've had enough of this disrespect. I feel like I'm the only one trying to find stories. You know what? Emergency meeting. Tomorrow, 5 p.m.
Isn't that just a regular meeting time?
We'll consider it emergent now. What are we doing? Why are we here?
I joined because I actually needed something, social justice-y to put on my resume that required minimal work. And it seemed much easier than joining the school's actual student newspaper, The Hoya.
No, I have actually. I think I stopped counting after the third or fourth time I applied to The Hoya. Why do you ask?
We're here to make a newspaper, right?
We're here to make a newspaper that acts as Georgetown's version of Vice News. So exposing corruptions, deceits, scandals, but on the Georgetown campus. That is the ethos of Georgetown News.
Georgetown News?
Yeah, Georgetown News. Did you not see the email I sent?
Well, I saw it. I just assumed the name had to be a typo.
It's not.
You can admit if it was a typo.
It is not a typo, okay? It's the words Georgetown and news intentionally pushed together. Because there is no space, figurative or literal, for any sort of bad journalism or corruption in these stories of Georgetown News. Therefore, Georgetown News.
Why is there a photo of Will Ferrell on the wall?
That's great that you're already in investigation mode, but that is pretty clearly a reporter from Channel 4 News. Both of these are just stock images I got off Google.
Also, going back to the other picture, isn't Vice News bankrupt?
You know what? Let's not focus so much on the little things, okay? Let's look at the big picture. March 1st is the deadline for the Student Activity Commission's club application form. So we need to publish a newspaper by that day so that they recognize us as an official club. All we need is one good story.
All right, Paul, thank you for the very interesting detour to the infamous Georgetown tunnels. Why are we here? What's your story?
You smell that?
Smell what?
Something cliche like love.
Mildew. Note the water damage on the ceiling. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think we have a potentially dangerous bacteria culture growing right underneath our noses. Pretty interesting how the university didn't even mention this to us.
It's really not.
Paul, for our first ever story, we need something that's a little bigger and naturally and innately juicy.
Okay, I provide a story that's secret and dangerous and underground. I provide a story about a dangerous fungi that if you're exposed to over a long period of time, around 2 to 4 days, could lead to mild illness.
Honestly, we could probably write a more interesting story about those broken lapel pins over there.
Okay, you laugh now, but a different bacterial culture can accomplish more than you think. Have you ever seen a petri dish before?
Okay. Maybe we can do this in a future edition of the newspaper.
Promise?
Fine. But for our first ever story, we need something that's a little bigger than this. And I'm starting to realize that I'm allergic to whatever stupid mildew is down here. So let's just call it a night, cut our losses, and go back to the drawing board next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. First item on the agenda, we still need a story.
The Jazz Orchestra is putting on a show next month, and they're playing with 2 trombonists instead of 3, after one of them canceled a strep throat. Could this be due to the weather change? Or could it be due to the highly stressful academic culture at Georgetown? Or is it a misdiagnosis? A sign of incompetence from the Georgetown Medical Center?
Okay. Thanks, Paul. But it feels like the ideas are starting to stagnate a little bit. And there's only one solution.
Oh, God.
I'm calling a roundtable meeting. Now that we have centered ourselves, what comes to mind? What is our big story? Jackie, do you have anything you want to add?
I don't know. Jazz orchestra thing sounded exciting.
Thank you.
Okay, no offense, Paul, but it didn't. And you know it didn't. And no offense, I know you're trying, Paul, but we need something with a little bit more gusto.
I don't really see what the big deal is. It's a club, and no one's going to read this newspaper we're trying to make anyways, so.
There's a lot going on in the world at large. A lot of pain and a lot of suffering. And maybe we can't stop that or change any of that. But maybe if we can help people to feel more informed about what happens on this campus in their own backyard, we can help them feel a little bit more secure. And I get it. I get that it is easier to not try and to not care. But my argument is that if we do collectively come together and really try, maybe we can make something that's bigger than ourselves. Still nothing? Okay. Next item on the agenda. Paul, will you please read out the slogan ideas from last week's meeting?
The ones based on real slogans?
Inspired by real slogans, yes, in order to leverage their brand awareness to create our own. So please, read them out.
All the news that's unfit to omit. Snap, crackle, inform. Finger licking, alternative journalism. I can't believe it's not news.
Those sounded a little better in my head.
We have no news, which means no Georgetown News newspaper release. No newspaper release means no Student Activities Commission benefits. And no benefits means that Georgetown News will shrivel up and die even faster than GAC, the Georgetown Astrological Charts Club. And now I am sitting here alone in this meeting for what, 30 minutes now? Oh, well, thanks, guys, for coming on.
We went to the tunnels the other day. The broken pins weren't the only weird thing. Also, the door was ajar, which is weird because usually you have to pick a lock to get down there. So I started to think, what kind of group wears matching pins?
It feels impossible to know.
Let me elaborate. What kind of group wears matching pins and needs the secrecy of a tunnel to meet? 2 words. Secret society. So I had Paul do some digging.
I did some looking into in Georgetown's history of secret societies, and there's something that came up on Wikipedia. There's a group called the Stewards. They're an anonymous all-male society that has existed since the 1980s. They apparently have a lot of influence in student body and political elections, and a very charitable endowment. People have tried to expose them multiple times, most recently in 2020.
That's where we come in. Right now.
We went to the tunnels to see if they were meeting. They were.
You ready?
Yeah. And I'm not crying, I'm just really proud. Yeah, let's do this.
If this isn't secret society behavior, I don't know what is. What is secret society behavior? I don't know. Jackie, could you get photos of someone there?
No!
Well, I am proud to announce that we officially have our first ever Georgetown News story.
And I have one question for you.
Oh, sure.
Did you ever come up with a slogan from the newspaper like you said you would?
Yeah, of course.
Good. What is it?
Nothing is never not news. Sometimes.
And that's something you had thought of before and not right in this moment,
Correct.
right now.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the brainstorming process is very personal to me, so I don't talk about it much.
Really. Because arguably you talk about everything too much.
Okay. Meeting adjourned. Get to writing.
So my roommates were all like, Jackie, you're being Delulu. But I'm like, no, there's nothing.
Breaking news, we're not a secret society. We're an a cappella group.
Tech got kicked out of classroom due to noise, so we went to the only place on campus where we couldn't be heard. The acoustics are great.
Plus, there's something cool about literally being an underground music group.
But we didn't hear you guys making music. We just heard a lot of sort of cult-like whistling and humming.
Well, we're trying to get the cadence right for Aka Africa by Toto, and it's not that easy, so it takes a lot of whistling and humming to get the beat just right.
Anyways, we have two things to say. One, we demand an apology. Two, since we need a respectful yet creative way to take our anger out. 5, 6, 7, I see you drive downtown with the girl I love, and I'm like,
Fuck you!
There's no way they're making all that sound with their mouths.
Thank God, they almost exposed us.
yeah, that was a close one.